It starts with a boring word almost nobody wants to hear: cadence. If the big rockets do not fly often and cheaply, everything else is just daydreams. So year one is about turning a giant rocket into something that behaves like an airplane. It goes up, it comes back, it gets washed, checked, refueled, and goes again. The goal is weekly flights to orbit. Weekly, when that becomes normal, the whole game changes. Because now we can send enough mass into space to start pre-building a town on a different planet. Here's how it really unfolds. We do not send people first. We send machines, a lot of them. Think of Mars as a remote job site where you ship the bulldozers, power plants, water makers, and shelters before the crew shows up. Our target landing zone is a mid-latitude plain with buried ice close to the surface. You've probably heard the name Arcadia Planitia. The exact spot is less important than the three ingredients it offers: sunlight, flat ground, and ice you can dig. Ice is the key. Ice is water to drink, oxygen to breathe, and the raw material for rocket fuel. If you can turn local ice in the Martian air into propellant, your ships can come home and your outpost can grow. If you cannot, you have planted a flag and a headline, not a colony. So step one, after we master frequent launches, is learning to refuel ships in orbit. That sounds exotic. But it is really plumbing with very cold liquids. You park a tanker in low Earth orbit, you rendezvous another ship with it, and you pump liquid methane and liquid oxygen across until the interplanetary ship is full. You practice this until it is boring. The moment that becomes standard, we stop being trapped by the size of a single launch and start operating like a freight company in space. Now we can top off a Mars ship and depart when the planets line up. That lineup happens roughly every 26 months in 5 years. That gives us 2 real chances to send serious cargo and then a crew. Year 1 looks like this. The heavy rocket flies again and again. Tiles do not fall off, engines relight when commanded. Heat shields come home scratched but proud. At the same time, a team tests cryogenic fluid transfer in space. They learn how to keep the propellants cold, how to aim solar panels so the sun does not boil off the fuel, how to insulate lines so the liquids do not warm up and evaporate. It is not glamorous, but it is the foundation. While that is happening, factories on Earth build the cargo. Not pretty, polished landers. Tough machines that do one job well, a compact nuclear reactor that can power a neighborhood, a few football field-sized solar arrays rolled up like carpets, a skid the size of a truck bed that does the most important chemistry on Mars. It pulls carbon dioxide out of the air and water out of the ice, then runs a simple reaction called Sabatier to make methane for fuel and oxygen for both fuel and breathing. There are bulldozer rovers with low, wide bodies built to push dirt. There are inflatable pressure shells you can bury for radiation protection. There are communications masts that talk to orbiters and beam laser messages to Earth. There are spare pumps, filters, lines, and valves, because Mars punishes arrogance and rewards redundancy. When the first launch window opens in roughly 2 years, we do something that sounds insane and is actually just disciplined logistics. We send only cargo 4, maybe 6 uncrewed ships. They land in a loose grid so that one vehicle's bad day does not ruin anyone else's landing. They do not touch down right next to each other. They land far enough apart to be safe, close enough to be reachable. As their dust plumes settle, a little city that nobody lives in yet begins to wake up. The communications tower unfolds. The solar fields unroll. The nuclear unit spins up far enough from the base to keep everyone comfortable. Rovers crawl out of bellies and start pushing dirt over the top of habitats. Why dirt? Because a couple of meters of Martian soil cuts radiation down to levels that let people live without fear. It is the oldest trick in the book: put mass between you and the sky. Meanwhile, the fuel plant starts breathing. It drinks carbon dioxide from the thin air and sips water melted from the ground. It splits water into hydrogen and oxygen. It feeds the hydrogen and carbon dioxide into the reactor and spits out methane and more water, which is reused. Slowly, day after day, it fills tanks with oxygen and methane. Even a few kilograms a day is victory. It proves the loop is real. It proves the return ride can be topped off without a resupply from Earth for the next Earth year and change. Teams on Earth live on Mars, through screens. They run the plant as if their lives depend on it, because in the next phase, somebody's life will they learn which filters clog, which seals hate dust. how regolith chews on moving parts, and which sun angles make the power system happiest. They refine the playbook for dust storms. The storms are not hurricane winds that throw rocks. They are slow blankets of fine powder that darken the sky and get into everything. The answer is simple engineering discipline. You put brooms on rails that walk across solar panels every morning. You design filters you can clean with a gloved hand. You keep the nuclear reactor humming in the background so there is always a baseline of power. You schedule heavy jobs when the sun is high and ease off at night. You accept that dust as part of the culture. You design for it, you do not pretend it is going away. The second cargo wave arrives in the next launch window. This time the payload is heavier on comfort and safety. Duplicate life support systems, extra air tanks, a bigger greenhouse kit, a pressurized rover that can drive far enough to make the map bigger than people's fear, a workshop with a large industrial printer that takes crushed soil and sinters it into bricks and parts. The bulldozers finish burying the first habitat modules. The comms network gets stronger. A landing field is cleared and marked by robots for the human ships. Most important of all, at least one ascent vehicle on the surface now has enough home-made propellant to lift off, rendezvous with a parked ship in orbit and head for Earth, even if we never use it. That full tank is a psychological superpower. It says to the first crew, if everything goes sideways, there is a way out. Now we talk about the people. The first crew is not 100 settlers marching off a ramp. It is 12 to 20 multi-tool human beings. Every person stacks skills. A paramedic, who is also an engineer. A biologist who can weld. A pilot who can fix software at 3 in the morning. Everyone can cook. Everyone can clean. Everyone knows how to patch a pressure leak with calm hands. You screen for ego, like it is a disease. You select people who can admit when they are wrong without collapsing. You train conflict jujitsu, not conflict avoidance, because a closed habitat is a big family, not a hotel. Their ride is 2 crewed ships with a third ship full of backup, everything behind them. It takes roughly half a year to cross the space between planets. Inside, the crew is busy. Exercise is as important as breakfast. They use resistance machines and maybe even a small spinning arm that simulates gravity to keep bones and hearts strong. They practice every suit drill until it is muscle memory. They hold live time, delayed sessions with schools and news crews on Earth, because the early exports from Mars are media, data, and the ideas we invent under pressure. They grow simple plants in a tiny rack, they calibrate instruments, they run mock repairs, they get bored, then they get over it. That is space, boredom, beauty, and checklists. Entry, descent, landing, the scariest 9 minutes of anyone's life. The ship comes in fat on fuel. Because lives are heavier than payload, it flips, it fires engines, it throws up a mushroom of dust in slow motion, legs kiss down, the cabin trembles. Someone says the line you hope for, we made it, but do not celebrate yet. First hour, verify power, verify life support, verify that the fuel plant is still the noisy, reliable heart of the base first suit. Up feels like breathing inside a tiny planet you brought with you. The air smells like rubber, metal, and your own breath. Boots touch sand. Nobody does a victory speech. They check lines from the lander to the base. They top off air banks. They walk the dirt berms and look for slumps. They put eyes and hands on every valve they plan to trust. They pace themselves. The goal is not viral video. The goal is predictable routines in a place that eats surprises for breakfast. This is the moment Mars stops being far away and starts being a neighborhood with chores. Daily life has a rhythm, and it is more human than you think. There is a 10-minute morning stand-up around the galley table where no one grandstands. There is a weekly dinner themed around a place on Earth so the crew remembers why they came. There are private phone, booth-sized pods with sound damping where people can be alone without being alone. There's a gym corner that is sacred, and there's the coffee mug you hang on the rail with your name on it. The moment a specific cup belongs to a specific person on another planet, civilization has begun again. Food is not romantic at first. You land with a year of tough, boring rations. But on week 1, you start chasing fresh crunch. Microgreens scream out of vertical racks under bright lights, radishes, lettuce, herbs that smell like childhood kitchens. Do not promise to feed the base from a greenhouse on day 1. The greenhouse feeds morale at first, then slowly adds calories. That first salad disappears in 10 seconds, and everyone laughs. That is fine. Plant twice as much next time. Suits are where reality bites. They rip, zippers jam. Shoulder rings catch on the same latch you swore you would move last week, so you turn the suit room into a race team pit lane. Tools are shadowed on the wall. Timers run on the bench. Checklists are smudged and loved. There is a repair kit that looks like arts and crafts, because sometimes tape and ingenuity are miracles. Power is a two-belt system. The compact nuclear reactor covers base load, and the solar farm plus batteries handle peaks and give redundancy. The reactor sits beyond a berm with remote coolant loops. Out of the way, the solar arrays stretch like a glittering lake. Cleaning robots walk them every morning. You do not bet lives on only one power source. You do not bet lives on only one of anything. Radiation is real, but you are not tanning on a rock out there. Habitats are buried under soil. Water walls line sleeping quarters. Dosimeters tell you how you are doing. Spacewalks happen in short, well-planned sprints. Job rotation spreads exposure. You do the dumb, effective thing humans have done forever. Put mass between people and the sky. Governance matters even in a crew of 12. The charter is thin and sharp air, power, and water are shared. Abuse any of those and you do not get a stern talk. You get an intervention. Two-person rule for critical valves, software pushes, and life support changes. Votes are fast. Logs are written like your grandchildren will read them, because they will communication with Earth will test patience, depending on where the planets are. Messages take 4 to 24 minutes to go one way. That means you send your question, you do the work, and answers catch up later. The delay becomes a gift. It forces the colony to be decisive. It gives everyone room to think. A constellation of relay satellites around Mars keeps the link stable. It feels like a blend of email, voice notes, and video letters. Artificial assistants pick up slack, but humans make the calls. Risk is not a villain you defeat. It is a roommate you live with. Someone will get a pinprick leak in a glove. Someone will crush a finger in a hinge. Someone will get a stomach ache because the first batch of lettuce did not get washed enough. The medical bay is not a closet with gauze. It is a small operating room that can seal to a hatch if needed. Every crew member is trained in real first aid, not the poster version. You keep warming blankets, blood expanders, pain control, antibiotics, and the courage to say, "Stop, I do not understand, explain that again." Because clarity is oxygen. What are we actually building in 5 years? Not a city. A town small enough to fit on a basketball court and tough enough to survive the worst night of your life. Picture the map in year 5-3, buried habitats, connected by short tunnels, 2 greenhouses that look like glowing ribs at night, a workshop you call the barn because it feels right, a pressurized rover with range to make your world bigger, a power field with a nuclear heartbeat and a solar lake, a fuel plant that never sleeps, a landing zone marked by robots and pride, and a little masked blinking laser light to an orbiter that whispers to Earth. If you can see that picture, you can understand the plan. Now let us zoom all the way in. A day in month 6 after first landing. You wake to the happy whale sound the heat exchanger makes when it is in a good mood. The habitat lights push a 6 in the morning sunrise that is a little too enthusiastic, and someone grumbles about whoever set the schedule. Breakfast smells like basil because a crewmate snuck it into the eggs. Morning stand-up is tight. Power is at 72% of peak because of thin dust in the air. The fuel plant is grumpy about a filter. The rover named Goose needs a new right rear actuator. Scientists on Earth are buzzing about yesterday's ground-penetrating radar. They want another grid today. You split into pairs. No one goes outside alone. You check suits with the kind of paranoia that keeps people alive. You step out into a world of sunrise pink. Your boots make a crunch you feel through your bones instead of hearing through air. At the fuel skid, the lines are warm, good. Compressors hum like a big cat purring. You swap the angry filter, log the serial number, and tape the old one with a note, so the materials geek can autopsy it later. You wheel Goose into the shop and pull the actuator. The printer in the corner spits out a cover you redesigned last night to block dust from a place you never expected to catch it. It clicks on like you meant it that way from the start. You are not inventing a future. You are doing chores in it. Back inside. Someone printed a new clip for the galley shelf. It fits. The silly little surge of triumph you feel is the point of civilization. You grab a window to a relay orbiter and send data back to Earth. For 20 minutes, the delay feels charming instead of annoying. The team at home sends a map with more blue than you were expecting, more ice, closer than you thought. You mark it. That is a new well for the base someday. Another day, another small reason to believe. Night falls early here. Stars do not twinkle without air to shake them. They stare back, steady. Your crew does the ritual none of you admit is a ritual. One person reads the base log out loud. Filter 37 is a diva. Goose's surgery was a success. Greenhouse humidity hit tropical vacation because the dehumidifier died bravely and was replaced. Laughter, somebody strums a travel guitar until metal walls feel warm. Someone else sticks a little printed plaque over a hatch, north door, abandon all dust ye who enter. You go to sleep thinking a strange thought, we did not conquer Mars today. We got along with it. That is better. Let us not dodge the ugly questions. Radiation. Real answer. Bury the house. Add water walls. Measure doses. Rotate jobs. Sprint outside. And accept that Mars is a marathon, where pace matters more than swagger. Gravity too low to be healthy long-term. Answer, treat exercise like a second job, and eventually add a small spinning chair or a short arm centrifuge for bone and heart health. Dust it is, in everything. Answer, sacrificial seals, bigger tolerances where you can afford them, a vacuum bench that looks like a chimney sweep kit, and gear designed for cleaning as much as for doing fire the bad god of closed spaces. Answer, no open coils, no hero hacks in life. Support circuits, alarms that you test so often they feel like a prank, and fire teams who drill until they can do it half asleep. What about numbers the internet loves to argue over how many tons of cargo, enough to make fuel and power a small town? Think in plain language, the first waves move hundreds of tons across 2 or 3 launch windows. How many people a dozen to 21st, then another dozen 6 months later if the base is healthy? What is the timeline? Year 1, make rocket flights, boring and practice plumbing in space. Year 2, launch the first cargo wave and prove the fuel plant on Mars can breathe. Year 3, operate the base by remote like your life depends on it. Year 4, double down with cargo that makes the place kinder and safer. Year 5, land the crew, move in, and turn checklists into culture. The second crew arrives half a year after the first. They do not walk in like tourists. They arrive like neighbors who already know what chores are waiting. They bring the long-range rover that changes psychology. They bring spare parts that fix problems you did not know were problems yet. They bring new music and new jokes. They bring a bigger greenhouse kit. They bring a second workshop printer that chews local soil and spits parts that do not care about shipping delays. That is the year when someone looks around and says a sentence that feels outrageous and true. This is not an outpost anymore. This is the start of a town. People ask why 5 years and not 10. Because history does not owe you perfect timing. Because momentum matters. Because if we already have weekly rockets, if orbital refueling is just plumbing, if the cargo waves are real and the fuel plant is loud and boring, then the gulf between almost and actually is one hard decision away. Waiting another decade does not make it safer. It makes it easier to keep saying later. There will be weeks that feel like defeat, a storm that lasts longer than the models, a pump that fails at the worst moment, a human conflict that turns the habitat quiet for a day. The cure is the same as it has always been for explorers and builders. Write everything down, laugh at dumb moments, apologize when you are wrong, fix the thing in front of you, then fix the next thing. Remember the coffee mug on the rail? That small human claim on a place that once seemed impossible means more than 1,000 speeches. You want a final scene. It is not a flag. It is not a carved plaque. It is a night when somebody steps outside for a minute before bed. The suit light paints a soft circle on rocks that have not seen light like that in 1 billion years. The radio is quiet. The sky is black and generous. That person whispers a sentence they did not plan to say, "We are home here too." Then they go back inside, hang their cup, and set an alarm for morning stand-up because towns do not build themselves. Not on Earth, not on Mars, not anywhere. Worth the trip. If you strip the poetry away, the operating manual is simple. Fly often, refuel in orbit, land cargo twice before you land people, bury the house, make fuel where you live, train like you love each other, write boring logs that future kids will frame on their walls. That is not sci-fi. That is logistics with heart. That is how we get people living on Mars inside 5 years. And when the first baby tomato grows under a plastic light 6 months after people arrive, when someone bites into it and laughs because it tastes like summer from a different world, you will know the truth about colonizing Mars. It was never about escaping Earth. It was always about becoming the kind of species that deserves two homes.